Welcome to Smart Living. I'm so excited. This podcast is all about traveling on a budget in Spain. Here we go. Welcome to Smart Living. Sitting next to me is my friend Carol, and I am currently in Valencia, Spain. And this is all about, I guess, traveling on a dime, right?
I like it.
So my friend Carol, I actually met her in Phoenix, Arizona, way back in the day. And in 2016, she had enough and she wanted to travel abroad, and she hasn't been home since. So, and living on a budget. And this is really interesting how she's pulled this off. So Carol, first of all, thank you so much for your time. Welcome to Smart Living.
Thank you so much for having me.
So in 2016, you've grown up in the States, you're a citizen, so you're familiar with the country, and then you said, I'm done. I want to quit and go travel.
I did. I just thought had been thinking about it for a very brief amount of time, and
Go ahead, you're fine.
and then just had like an epiphany one day that I would be happier without all of the things that I had, and that I didn't really need to own all of these things. So I sold everything and moved into a backpack and started traveling around the world.
So that's one of the things that you did. So instead of experiencing life through things and managing things can get overwhelming,
Yes.
you decided instead to get rid of all those things, and instead you're full of life experiences now,
Yes.
and it's all in a backpack.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
do not buy anything when you're living out of a backpack. You don't buy gifts. You don't buy extra clothes. You live with what you have, and it's a very good lesson to learn, I think, especially from being in the U.S. where I had so many things and so many clothes and so many bicycles
And now that you live a very simple life, would you say that you're genuinely happier?
easily, yes,
Easily.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I prefer a more Spanish lifestyle of experiencing and hiking and spending time with friends and family, and not shopping. We don't go
Right.
shopping together
Right.
with your friends.
Right,
you know,
right. Unless you go to the
it's not a
market, the
thing
local
here.
market. We
Yeah,
can talk
exactly.
about that too. That was so much fun. But okay, so you've traveled, you're in Spain now, and this is where you've decided that you want to become a citizen. This is
Right.
going to be home for you. But you've
It is.
spent the last 9 years basically traveling 41 different countries.
Yep, exactly.
And experiencing life. Now, since you've had so much experience traveling the world, tell me, hands down, what do you think is the least expensive or most affordable country?
For me, in my experience, Vietnam was
Mm-hmm.
definitely one of the top of my list. I think about like the food, the people, the scenery, how easy it is to get around, the cost of accommodations, the cost of smaller trips if you want to go on boat trips or motorcycle trips. And Vietnam just hit every box. The food was amazing. It was super fresh. The people were so kind. And there were amazing museums, and just you were in the mountains, you were at the beach, you had everything. So,
Is it hard to become a citizen in Vietnam?
I don't know.
Okay, you never looked
Yeah,
into it,
I
but
haven't
you know
looked
it's
into that
right.
one. Yeah.
But for traveling wise, it's very inexpensive and probably
Exactly.
very affordable to live there too.
And once you get into Asia, the flights, similar to in Europe, like once you get into the continent, essentially,
Right, then it's easy
the
to go
flights are
between.
so much smaller and easier and cheaper to get to. So.
Right. So once you get there, just like the EU, once you enter into the EU,
Yep.
it's easy to navigate around. So I entered in from the U.S. I landed in Zurich, and that was it. Once I went through customs, it was no problem getting to Valencia. They never looked at my passport again or anything like that. So that made it really easy. So now 9 years later, you've decided to move to Spain and make it your home.
Yes.
Why is that? Now I know Spain is really affordable, but I want to know why you chose this to be home.
I've been considering a lot of Spanish-speaking countries because
Okay, so now you've decided to make Spain your home, right?
yes.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about the visa, because a lot of people coming from the United States, like, how do you live here? Because usually we can stay for 90 days and then we have to leave. So there are certain visas that allow you to stay here and become citizens.
Right. So the one I have is called a non-lucrative visa, and it is based on my rental income coming from the U.S., which is a passive income. You're not allowed to work either from a U.S. company or from a Spanish company. And it also allows you to have like a pension or like Social Security, and you can qualify for it.
Okay, so for you have passive income because when you were a younger woman living in the States, instead of buying fancy cars and going to all these richy restaurants, you bought rental properties.
Exactly.
And that rental income has allowed you the freedom to not work and be able to live off of that in another country.
Exactly.
So that's the key factor. But with that being said, that means that you're on a tight budget
Exactly.
because she can't work.
Yes.
So what she makes from her rental income that's all that she can live off of.
Yeah, or my savings, which I
Right,
try
which
not to do,
you don't want
obviously.
to, and you're very frugal because I've spent time with you in your home. So first, let's talk about, and I know we're going to talk about how you've been afforded to travel all over the place, but let's talk about your housing here. Like, what's housing in Valencia, Spain? Like, Spain overall is pretty inexpensive.
Most of it's pretty reasonable in some of the larger cities, and Valencia now is kind of coupling into that with Barcelona and Madrid, where it's becoming a bit overpriced. But recently they took down a lot of Airbnb, so now there's an influx of long-term rentals that have now come open. So it's kind of helping the current rental market, or kind of flattening it out a bit. So, but I would say living near the beach, you're still paying less than.
Oh my God, so much less.
You're paying between $1,000 and $1,500 to live near the beach for a 1 to 2 bedroom.
Yeah, and we are one here right now. It's about 800 square feet.
Yeah.
Rent is like anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500, depending on that, and that's with utilities included. So everything's included.
Yeah.
You have utilities and all that, but keep in mind, air conditioning. There's no central AC here.
No.
So you probably might hear a little bit of buzzing in the background. That's because there's a fan in the background.
I don't mind. I'm kind of used to living in a lot of countries where their air conditioning was definitely something that was we were being spoiled if we have air conditioning on.
Yes.
So I've already adjusted to it, but when my friends from the U.S. come, they certainly have to become a little more adjusted to the temperature in my home.
Well, and I will say that truly, like, at least for me, when I come to Spain, it's very minimalist living.
Yes.
I feel that the community, they live their lives outside.
Yeah.
A house is just a form of a function.
Exactly.
Where in the country, in some parts of the country, depending on where you live on, the home is like everything. I mean, it's like a mansion, and we do everything inside of our house. And it really ties you down, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and it leads for a non-affordable lifestyle.
Yeah.
So one of the things that you've traveled 41 countries, which we touched base on, and lived on a really tight budget. But you talk about, like local things. So when we were in Valencia, you knew a lot of local stuff. You knew about local markets, you knew about local activities, which save us a ton of money.
Yeah,
As a tourist, I wouldn't have known of these things. So how do you find out about this if you're just moving to a country?
Oh, that's great. That's a great question. So I traveled a little bit differently than I had when I was in the U.S., and I prefer staying in hostels or work stay places where it's like you can live for a month and there's other people that are working from home or have one of the working visas here is you can actually have like a digital nomad visa here.
That's another one.
And so it's kind of a nicer place to like find a community. It's usually a younger community versus, living in a golf course community. But it's also not the under 25 group with party hostel. It's a little bit, of a nicer place. So, and at those, they always have a lot of events happening. They organize group functions or group wine tastings or bar crawls, which is not really my thing. But,
I want to repeat this slowly for people that are listening in. So hostels are not like hostels that you would think of in the U.S. Because when you told me you're staying in a hostel, I'm like, girl, I'm in my 50s. I'm not staying with a bunch of 30, 20-year-olds in like bunk beds. It's nothing like that.
No.
They're called hostels, but they're inexpensive, minimal, probably a little bit of community stuff where you might share a bathroom, but you could have a private bedroom.
You can have private
you have
bedrooms.
your own space. It just depends.
You can have your own little pod. You have your own curtains. You have your own privacy and lockers
And by traveling that way, she meets people in the community that she's traveling and learns about all the way to save.
Yeah.
You're a genius. You're a
very
genius.
easy. It's very fun too.
Right. The other thing about Spain that I love is, so like you can get a bottle of wine for like $2, literally, and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And the alcohol doesn't sit in you like it does in the U.S. There's just something about the food and the alcohol in the U.S. that just feels like it doesn't sit well.
Yeah. Here, just you.
In so many ways. Plus, I got a belt for $10. If you want to follow Carol, it's called Travel
Yoga
Carol on Instagram.
Yeah.
And don't forget, guys, I'll have all the information about Carol where you can find her and some tips on my blog at smartshopperdaphne.com. And don't forget, I'm Daphne Monroe.